call him Hubie, and Hubie is a juvenile cane toad. Now, cane toads get their name from the fact that they were introduced to sugarcane fields to eat cane beetles. But what we didn't know at the time when they were introduced is that not only do they eat cane beetles, but they eat everything. And I'm talking like your 2-year-old toddler asking for a snack every 5 minutes, everything. Now, while they do prefer insects and creepy crawling bugs, they will also eat things like eggs. They'll eat spiders, they'll eat small birds, they'll eat other amphibians, they'll even eat snake species if they're small enough. Cane toads are one of the largest species of four-toed toads on the planet, reaching anywhere from about 9 to 12 inches in length from the tip of their nose all the way to their bottom. If you guys haven't seen yet, we have a large female on display. Her name is Jolene. If you walk past her and close her, she looks like a big rock. That's going to be one of their biggest means of defense. So they blend in really well with their terrestrial environment around them, and they tend to dig and burrow underground to stay out of the really hot temperatures of the day, but also to protect themselves from large predators. Now, they are going to be endemic to Central America and the northern part of South America, and they really like dense rainforest-like humid conditions near fresh water sources. However, they are able to adapt to many different types of habitats, which makes them really invasive to other areas that they're found in. While they were introduced in Australia back in the 1930s as a means of being basically pest control, only 102 at the time were introduced in the 1930s. Now they have over 200 million. And they're devastating ecosystems. I know. Who would think that a tiny little toad could devastate an ecosystem? Well, I'm going to tell you how they do it. So, all toads, fun fact, are poisonous from the time they're born. It just depends on the type of toad. Will depend on the type of poison they have. So there's an old wise tale that if you pick up toads and they pee on you, you're going to get warts. It's not true. But it was easier to give you a nasty disease on your hands than it was to tell you that you might have a weird afternoon if you touch one. So cane toads, they actually have what's known as a toxin. So this toxin actually affects the cardiovascular system and the neurological system of the animals that ingest it. So what will happen is if the cane toad at all feels threatened, he's got these two big parotid glands behind his eyes that kind of look like boulder shoulders. This is where his poison sacs sit. Now, if he feels threatened, he will excrete them all throughout all the pores in his body, and his entire body will become coated in a white slime. Now, let's say a large bird of prey, a dog, a cat, a tiny human. We pick it up, we bother it, the animal tries to eat it, and then we touch our eyes, nose, or mouth. While we might have not a direct effect of it, we might feel a little queasy, we might get a little headache. A much smaller animal species is going to have things like neurological issues, foaming at the mouth, seizures, and even death. So the reason they're causing so many ecological issues, especially in places where animals have not yet been able to adapt to the fact that they're there, is that birds are then consuming cane toads from the sky, and then they're falling out of the sky to their death because the ecotoxin takes over their system. So they're not only eating everything that we didn't think they were going to eat, but they are also affecting the larger predator species that are going to eat them. So they're outliving and they're outsmarting a lot of the predators because they're not meant to be there, so the predators have no idea how to deal with the fact that they're there. How many of you are from Florida? Okay. Well, fun fact, they're here too. So, cane toads have made their way into Florida. They are actually found in a lot of our different counties here in the United States, but they're only found as far north as Georgia at the moment. They can be found in all of the different counties, and they are becoming an invasive species here as well. So, if you do happen to be from Florida and you do happen to see one of these guys in your garden or in your backyard, do us a favor and call FWC. They'll come and remove them safely from the environment. This prevents them from being able to reproduce rapidly and affecting our ecosystems as much as it has in Australia. They reproduce pretty rapidly during the rainy season, and a female can lay anywhere from 10 to 30,000 eggs twice a season. Those eggs only stay eggs for 1 to 3 days, and they stay tadpoles for only 20 weeks. Then they come out and they start devastating ecosystems. What's really crazy is there actually isn't a way for any animals to eat their eggs either, because fun fact, they're poisonous from the time they're laid till they die. So even their eggs and their poison, they are poisonous even in egg form. So any sort of turtle, fish, any sort of species that would eat frog eggs, unfortunately, if they try to consume them, they will also perish. So they're really adaptable, really invasive, and they get huge, which is why they're one of my favorite things to talk about. Now, while I have Mr. Hubert out, does anybody have any questions for me about him?
How do you recognize him?
He's mostly going to be juvenile, where they are. So right now he's a juvenile. He's not very large. Like I said, they can get anywhere from about 8 to 12 inches, so they get pretty big. But they all basically look like this. So they're all going to have lumps and bumps. They're going to be brown, can lean towards green in coloration, and they're always going to be on the ground. So they're always going to tunnel down into the ground. They are going to be nocturnal, so you'll see them mostly at night. And that's what they do most of their foraging, but you're not gonna find them in trees, you're not gonna find them up vertically, they don't have sticky toe pads, so they can't get up vertical. So if you do see a toad that comes out of the ground at night, there's a really good chance it's a toad.
You wouldn't see them during the day.
Nope, they stay out of the super hot temperatures during the day, and they are able to absorb all of sleep. Absorb. I was gonna say absorb moisture, but that was weird. But they can actually absorb all that moisture into their skin from the soil around them, so they stay out of the ground.
And what kind of area in Florida, like, I can find them in my backyard?
You sure can. Yep, you sure can. So what's crazy about cane toads is they have the ability to adapt to a wide range of humidity and habitats. So while they do like more tropical rainforest, they like it really moist and humid, they can sustain temperatures from like 30 degrees Celsius to like 55 degrees Celsius. So like in Fahrenheit, they can go anywhere from like 40 degrees to like 91.
What would he want in my backyard to eat?
All the bugs that you have, any birds that lay eggs that fall to the ground, they'll eat all of the spiders, caterpillars, butterflies, literally any insect. But they'll also eat like small rodents, so they'll eat small mice, small rats. The bigger they get, the more they consume, which is why they're such an issue. The largest one ever found on record was in Australia, and it was 7 pounds in the size of a small infant. Its name was Toadzilla. Do yourself a favor, Google that photo. It's terrifying. He was huge. He was literally like the size of an infant. It was terrifying. But yes, they get as much as long as there's a food source available, they will continue to grow and consume.
So like our cold snap that we just had for multiple days and multiple rounds, is that enough to knock them out?
No. So what's really cool about a lot of reptiles and a lot of amphibians is they go into what's known as a brumation or a ruminative state. So it's an involuntary thing that happens to their bodies where they'll actually slow all their internal systems down, and they can slow their heart rate down to 1 to 2 beats per minute. So they can sustain themselves through cold snaps just by pulling off their fat stores and going basically into this like hibernated state. All of our reptiles here in Florida do it. That's why iguanas fall out of the trees. It's why alligators sit very, very still with just their nose and their eyes out of the water. You will find most of your reptiles and most of your amphibians do this involuntarily. As soon as it gets cold, they're either underground or in a warmer spot, and they just stay very sedentary until it's warm again. So, yep, they can survive that, unfortunately. Does anybody else have any other questions for me about Hubert? All right, then everybody say bye, Hubert.
Bye.